Jonathan III.
If you really want to see the tides turning in our country, can I challenge you and encourage you? If the Lord could grab a hold of us in our family, you would see the tide in our politics turn.
The Hamilton Quarter, weekday afternoons at 5 Central on American Family Radio.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. President-elect Trump promising to fix the illegal alien invasion, which cost U.S. taxpayers $150 billion last year alone. Blue cities like Chicago feeling the pinch as its own mayor vows to keep resisting Trump. But taxpayers in the Windy City are fed up.
Here you are with another gritty property tax hike, trying to push the have-nots to house your precious illegal immigrants. You told Trump you ain't gonna blink? Well, we ain't either.
You are going down in history as the worst mayor in America.
Typically, I'm here and I'm fussing. I want to say thank you to the city council. Our mayor is embarrassing us, y'all, around the world. And you all took the power back from him to say the city of Chicago is out of the business of funding illegals.
But Mayor Brandon Johnson has different ideas. This is what he said back in November.
We're going to defend the people of this city. Because, look, his attack, let's be very clear, the president-elect, former President Trump, his threat is not just towards new arrivals and undocumented families. His threats are also against black families.
Chicago resident and activist P. Ray Easley responds to that.
I think it's very disrespectful for him to say that. I am an American Negro woman, and our people are not immigrants. We are migrants, of course, in the very literal sense, because our grandparents came here during the Great Migration. This is why we're really pushing for an end to race. Because when you say black, that can mean anybody. They told us that Kamala was black. And yes, there are black people who will be deported, but that has nothing to do with the American people. Our goal is to get this border closed and to get every unnecessary expense off of the budget lines in the city of Chicago. We can't afford it anymore.
Incoming Trump administration border czar Tom Homan says many sanctuary city policies will only exacerbate the problem.
This is what the sanctuary cities need to understand. And if you don't let us in your jail, if we can't arrest that bad guy in the jail and you release him, that means I got to send a team of agents into the community.
A Wall Street Journal op-ed says education equity isn't working. James Freeman of the Wall Street Journal editorial board says the liberal idea of equity doesn't help anyone.
No, we've seen this in a lot of cases where there's an urge to virtue signal. There's an urge to achieve a desired demographic composition, and whether it be in classrooms or any other part of life, and reality intrudes. And what's interesting, this is a story in the Boston Globe out of Newton, Massachusetts, which is very affluent, very liberal suburb, where they are rethinking a progressive educational policy that was putting kids of all skill levels in the same classrooms.
The U.S. Supreme Court is hearing arguments this morning about Tennessee's ban on gender manipulation of minors. Dr. Jill Simmons, executive director of the American College of Pediatricians, says gender surgeries and drugs for minors is wrong, as well as the medical industry built around them.
This case will shine a lot of light on what is happening in the United States, which a lot of people, including myself, think is the biggest medical scandal of our time.
American Family Association filed a brief asking the Supreme Court to rule in favor of Tennessee. Ed Trent is an attorney for the American College of Pediatricians who filed a brief asking for the court to rule in favor of Tennessee.
Approximately half of the states have passed various laws protecting children against such interventions for purposes of gender transition. So the fact that those laws would essentially be upheld, if Tennessee's law is upheld, would certainly allow those states to move forward with those sorts of protections that they put in place. If the Supreme Court were to strike down the statute, that obviously would have significant implications across the board, and exactly how far that would go really would depend upon what the Supreme Court's rationale was.
On Tuesday, U.S. stocks tiptoed to more records, tacking a touch more onto what's already been a stellar year. More news online at afn.net. and download the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
Is God calling you to ministry? It's time to multiply your capacity for ministry with an affordable degree. The Bachelor of Arts in Christian Ministry at Wesley Biblical Seminary is the degree for you. When God called you to ministry, He called you to preparation. This degree is the education that you need to put all the pieces together for an amazing life of ministry. You will graduate with a confidence for ministry that is backed up by your competence in the scriptures, theology, and ministry. Come learn with a trusted seminary that will help you become a faithful leader. Learn more at wbs.edu.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Today is Monday. No, it isn't.
The days can't slip past you.
Well, I've been so busy the last 2 days.
Traveling.
I guess I didn't even know the days had passed. Yeah, Wednesday, December the 4th, 2024 is today. And again, we thank you for listening to American Family Radio. Ed Vitagliano with me. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Tim.
Wesley Wildman.
Good morning.
And Fred Jackson.
Good morning, Tim.
There's some dates that never change.
Yeah.
You got Christmas is 25th, so you can always remember that.
Yeah, I can remember that.
Anniversaries never change.
You're talking to me like I'm already in the nursing home. I'm not there yet, okay? I'm 61. Got a few years. A few years from now, you can talk to me like that.
Yeah.
Dad, listen to me now. Eat your applesauce.
Oops, a daisy, spilled a little on your chin. And I'm closer to that than you are.
Yeah.
You know, Christmas is exactly 3 weeks away.
Huh?
Is that right?
Sure
Yeah.
is.
Have you done all your shopping?
No, but I'm paying for it. My wife has been constantly texting me.
You are making a contribution.
Yes, I'm making a contribution, constantly texting me. And I'm thinking, all these, one
Texting you
swipe, pictures of stuff she gets for the grandkids.
Oh.
I think I've told you, my wife and I, we don't give each other Christmas presents.
Right.
Haven't in a long time.
Right.
I don't really need anything. And so it's all about the grandkids.
Yeah.
I think that our kids, we just give them
So the budget didn't
cash.
change. You just took your budget for
Yes.
her and you. And
But
what
I will
grandkids.
say this, the more she sends me, the more I'm going, wait a second
Make it
now. I don't know if these grandkids are worth it.
That's Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay, then. I don't want to get into that.
No.
Are these grandkids worth it?
They are.
They are worth it.
Absolutely.
But I know.
There is a limit.
There should be still a limit even for.
I just don't want to contribute.
I know.
To the to the greed of my grandkids. I don't want them to turn out to be materialistic.
Oh, I like the way that's going. Yeah. All right.
So
nobody's
buying this.
A lot to talk about on the program today. We some sad news to report. Tragic news out of New York City this morning, right, Fred?
Yeah, this is breaking news out of New York City. The CEO of United Healthcare was shot and killed outside his hotel around 6:45 this morning. His name is Brian Thompson, just 50 years of age. It was the Hilton Hotel there in New York. All we know at this point, and there's supposed to be another police briefing in the next hour or so, eyewitnesses say a man walks up, shoots Brian Thompson as he's coming out of the hotel, and the shooter escapes on a bicycle. The shooter, as of this moment, is still on the loose. He was, as I say, CEO of United Healthcare. United Healthcare is the largest provider of Medicare Advantage plans in the country. So a big job, a big organization. And as I say, police are on the lookout for the shooter.
Okay.
Motivation, nobody knows at this point.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and speculate.
Okay.
Okay, that's all it is pure speculation. First of all, let me just say I'm so sorry for the family.
Yes.
Of this gentleman. 50 years old. I'm probably married with kids. I would suspect. But so his family members are having to find out about this, and it's all over the national news. But my speculation would be like a lot of us are thinking right now. Somebody had a vendetta against him because they felt like they were wronged by United Healthcare. Is that a
well, I mean,
crazy far-fetched?
No, that's not far-fetched. The only thing I would ask, and I didn't know this until we walked in.
Right.
Fred told us. So I looked up their headquarters. Their headquarters is in Minnetonka, Minnesota. So I might lean more towards what you're saying if New York City was the headquarters.
Okay.
But he was, I'm guessing, on some kind of trip.
Unless he was stalked.
He was going
that could be.
He was
Could have been
going to a meeting with shareholders. He was coming out of the hotel to go to this meeting with shareholders.
Then
Who knows?
Then Tim, you might be right.
We don't know, except that, of course, New York City is a dangerous place. Right?
Yes.
I mean,
yes, yeah.
As a lot of big cities in America are.
I'm reading a report. I'm reading.
Go ahead.
As we are talking about this.
Let me just say this. So, but to have somebody, an assailant on a bicycle, seemingly knowing who this fella is, instead, it wasn't like he was mugged and robbed and got shot. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes me think it was something targeted. Go ahead, Wesley.
It says here that his wife said that he had been receiving some threats.
And I'm looking at a Fox News, Fox Business story. Says sources told Fox News that the shooting was not a random incident.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
they're going to find out who did it because they just will. By they, I mean like the FBI or somebody will probably find out.
She said, quote, "I just know that he said to me that there were some people that had been threatening him." I don't know. That could be at the event.
Right.
Could have been previous to that.
Right. So, again, Fred's reporting what the news media is reporting. This morning in New York City, the CEO of United Healthcare, which you said, Fred, they're the largest what?
They are the largest provider of Medicare Advantage plans. And if you're on Medicare, you know a little bit about those.
Right. We've had United Healthcare before here.
And that's just for our regular health insurance.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're big. It's a big company.
Yes. Them and Blue Cross Blue Shield, that's another big one. Mm-hmm. But anyway, the CEO was fatally shot outside a Manhattan hotel this morning, and they have yet to find the killer. So that's the breaking news. Sad, very sad for his family. Tragic news, and it's kind of scary too for New Yorkers. Maybe they're used to things like this, but anyway, it's not good news.
Yes.
All right, what's your next story?
Well, the next story is also a big story. Very important case before the United States Supreme Court this morning, and it has to do with a law in Tennessee against gender, and we'll call it, the mainstream media doesn't call it this, against gender mutilation of minors. This is another transgender case that's out there, and the federal government is challenging this Tennessee law aimed at protecting minors against their bodies being ripped apart under the banner of transgenderism. The kid says they feel like a boy says he feels like a girl, and there is compliance at certain levels with changing their bodies, giving them medication, all of this sort of thing. Our own Abe Hamilton, the American Family Association, has put an amicus brief in on this case because we love children and we want to protect children against things that many people feel they will regret at an older age. So a little bit from our own Abe Hamilton on the importance of this case. Cut number 3.
We filed an amicus brief in this Supreme Court case, and we have state legislators from all around the country, in every state in the country, who's also passed laws similar to the state of Tennessee. So the issue, though Tennessee is the tip of the spear, so to speak, is going to have a reverberating impact, because if the United States Supreme Court were to rule that the state of Tennessee could not protect its minors from gender mutilation surgeries and transgender chemical castrations, then it would follow no state would be able to do so.
I just looking at stories about this as the Supreme Court is currently hearing arguments on this, but there have been some reports already. People, news media, members of the media do text out or otherwise post on social media.
I've texted out many times in my life. It's you know what I'm saying? You can get to the point
where you're just texted out.
You're texted out.
Texted out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where you text out to other people or otherwise post on social media what's happening in the court right now. And one of the things that NBC News has said is that Chief Justice John Roberts questioning those who want this Tennessee law overturned, the pro-transgender attorneys, that Justice Roberts said that the Supreme Court might not be best situated to address issues like that. Doesn't that make a stronger case for us, meaning the Supreme Court, to leave those determinations to the legislative bodies rather than trying to determine them for ourselves, which I think is now, just because a Supreme Court justice, in this case the Chief Justice, asks questions that might indicate which way John Roberts is thinking, it doesn't always hold true. Sometimes they're just doing their due diligence and they question both sides. But I think that's a great argument.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how this is a constitutional issue. I don't think the Constitution addresses this in any way, shape, or form, even though the Supreme Court has ruled on the transgender issue before. Now, sometimes the Supreme Court is forced to rule when there is a conflict between a federal statute and a state law. That may be where these folks are going with this challenge to Tennessee's law. But that's a great argument. I mean, you've got to trust legislatures to deliberate, to look at the evidence, and not always, throw it to a federal court.
So kind of like what you're saying, like the Dobbs decision, perhaps?
In the Dobbs decision, the challenge was to overturn a prior Supreme Court ruling.
Right.
And they used a state law to challenge and ask for it to be overturned.
Right.
Anyway, I think that's a great argument posed by Roberts. That doesn't necessarily indicate that he would.
So, just to lay it out, of course, this decision won't be announced till February.
At least, yeah.
Okay, February or around in there. So, but what's at stake here is the law passed by the state of Tennessee and signed by their governor was to protect children, minors 18 and under, from
gender mutilation.
Yes, thank you. Surgeries being done on them, irreversible even.
Yes.
Regardless of the parent's consent.
Right.
Yeah.
Or taking chemicals.
Or even if a parent wants to do it to their kid.
Yes, I'm saying,
yeah. What Tennessee's saying is, no parent, you cannot irreversibly mutilate this child because they may or may not want it later in life.
Right. Can't do it. And so the pro-transgendered, forced transgenderism took them to court, took the state of Tennessee to court. And that's
the federal government, the Biden administration is fighting this Tennessee law.
Yeah, another reason why, thankfully, Biden and Harris are out.
Yeah.
Because think about this. The federal government, via the president and the vice president, well, not via, but they're the ones imposing this agenda, and they're wanting to force the state of Tennessee to not protect their children.
Right.
And it's not just the state of Tennessee. This decision will affect about 20 or 25 other states
who passed laws.
Who have passed laws on this.
Yeah. Now, the argument from the pro-trans side, they argue that this kind of treatment, puberty blockers and surgeries, is necessary to preserve the mental health of the child who really is trans.
Right.
Okay. And so part of this battle, I think this is why Justice Roberts was saying we're not best situated to address issues like this, because you have some European countries who were further down the road in promoting puberty blockers.
This very thing.
Yeah, this very thing. And now they've reversed course.
Yeah.
Because they said, no, kids wind up worse off mentally, in terms of mental illness, and the consequences of giving kids these chemicals is unknown.
So it's unknown both here. It's unknown in the States, but on the other hand, we do have other countries that have done it, and they have much, like you said, they've been done much further down the road, and so they as they were going, they said we don't want to go any further than this. This is our line. We're saying this isn't working.
And some of them have reversed course.
Okay, gotcha.
And they have banned these kinds of treatments for children, and they say, listen. After 18 years old, you're an adult. You do whatever you want within limits.
Yeah.
But you can't do this to kids who have no say.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, pray about that because that's a big case.
It sure is.
And we better be glad that I think we'll win that. I think the state of Tennessee and the other states will be their laws to protect kids will be upheld.
Yeah.
Because of the nature of the Supreme Court. This goes to show you, I know it's Brother Tim always harping on the judges, during the presidential election. And there are a multitude of issues why people vote the way they do, the economy, national defense, security, the border, whatever, inflation. But I always make it a point to say that it's the president who decides who the Supreme Court is. Who the Supreme Court justices are. When they come available, they appoint them. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, and the federal appellate courts all over America, which are just as important. Why? Because they only 3%, 2 to 3% of all the cases ever reach the Supreme Court.
Right.
So, I say that to say this: if you voted for President Trump in 2016, you helped save the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
That is a fact.
If you voted for President Trump against Vice President Harris, you helped to save the Supreme Court going forward. And it's, am I overstating that?
No, that is absolutely true. The other side knows this. And I would just add one additional thing, and then, of course, we can move on, or all kinds of other stories. This is also a case where if the Supreme Court wanted to, they can rule more broadly on this issue of transgender and whether or not schools can allow men to play sports on women's teams. So when Tim says, folks, pray about this, pray that a good decision in line, whether they state it this way or not, but a good decision which lines up with the created order that God has instituted comes out of this case.
Yeah, because and a little bit of a different angle to this is absolutely demonic, what they're wanting to do. Jesus himself said, if you harm one of these little children or you lead them astray, it would be better that a millstone be wrapped around your neck and you thrown into the ocean.
Yes.
Those are the words of Jesus. And obviously we're covering this from a legislative standpoint or a court case standpoint, but what they're wanting to do is demonic.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So you're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Next story, Fred.
Well, this is another story that kind of broke overnight. Wall Street Journal is reporting this story. New York Post. The story is that Trump's selection, his nomination to be defense secretary, a young man by the name of Pete Hegseth. If you've watched Fox over the last couple of years, you're probably very familiar with Pete Hegseth. Decorated military guy and a lot of respect amongst conservatives. However, since being nominated, there are reports, for the most part, which are not in dispute, of Pete Hegseth's behavior in the last 10 years. And it has to do with reports of allegations of sexual assault, et cetera, et cetera. So Pete Hegseth is on Capitol Hill this week doing what nominees do. They're going around and meeting with senators. There are reports, and this Wall Street Journal is reporting that at least 6 senators have real problems with Pete Hegseth. It may not just be about these reports of his behavior with women in the past, but also he's fairly young. So there's a couple of reasons. One of those senators who has expressed concerns about some of Trump's nominees is Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville. And we have
he's a Trump fan.
Yes. Very much so.
Solid conservative.
Yeah.
And of course, he has spoken out about concerns about this.
About what? This individual?
About Pete Hegseth.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, what the Wall Street Journal is reporting this morning is that they say Trump has already put together a follow-up list, like Matt Gaetz, who did not make it through his nomination. I think Trump is concerned, apparently, that Pete Hegseth may run into the same problem. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that on Trump's short list includes Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida. All of this not confirmed. Now, I have to say, I saw an interview with Pete Hegseth this morning. He responded to reporters asking him questions about this. He said he had a conversation with Mr. Trump this morning, and Mr. Trump told him to continue making his case that he should be the next defense secretary. Now, added to all of this, on Fox this morning was an interview with Pete Hegseth's mom, Penelope Hegseth. The reason she was there is that the New York Times, in the last couple of days, have published an email that Penelope Hegseth wrote to her son back in 2018. And I want to read you a little bit about what was in this, and she's not disputing that she wrote this, all right? She says, I'm quoting this email, on behalf of all the women, and I know it's many, you have abused in some way, I say get some help and take an honest look at yourself, she wrote. She also wrote, I have no respect for any man that belittles, lies, cheats, sleeps around, and uses women for his own power and ego. You are that man and have been for years, and as your mother, it pains me and embarrasses me to say that, but it is the sad, sad truth. Again, she is not disputing. Now, there's a whole story behind how did the New York Times get a hold of this personal email between a mom and her son. That's another story, and I have Steve Jordahl kind of working on how do we find that out. But anyway, I wanted to play you a little bit of what Penelope Hegseth had to say this morning. She said she wrote that 6 years ago, but she said Pete Hegseth is a different man today. So I wanted to play you a little bit of what she had to say. Cut number 2.
We all believe in him. We really believe that he is not that man he was 7 years ago. I'm not that mother. And I hope people will hear that story today and the truth of that story. So the other thing I want to say is I am here to tell the truth to the American people and tell the truth to the senators on the Hill, right, especially our female senators. I really hope that you will not listen to the media and that you will listen to Pete.
Well, and you're here to tell us, because you are in the news now. So why did you write that email in 2018?
Right. Well, what was
going on?
Right. Let's go back 7 years, which if we all went back 7 years, we would see that maybe we were not the people we are today. But they were going through, Pete and his wife at the time were going through a very difficult divorce. It was a very emotional time, and I'm sure many of you across the country understand how difficult divorce is on a family. There's emotions. We say things, and I wrote that in haste.
All right, there you have it. Boy.
How does a personal email from mother to son get leaked to the media?
Well, there's only two ways that I can think of. One is that the New York Times or someone else hacked her account and got it and then sent it to the New York Times. Or the New York Times found out who her carrier was and said, hey, this is news. We'd like you to give us access.
Yeah, but who went through and read all that just to get to that one email?
Somebody who hates Trump, I guess.
Could there be another reason? Could maybe Pete Hegseth or his mom sent that to somebody confidentially? And
maybe it's, I don't know how this happened. Maybe Steve will find out.
We'll be back momentarily. Stay with us.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
But God shows his love for us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. He endured the pain, the hurt, and the cruel remarks only because of his great love for us. Because of all our hatefulness, our stinginess, our sinfulness, he died upon that ugly cross. He loved us enough to take every sorry thing about us upon himself and to pay for our unworthiness. He wanted us to have the best, and because of it, he died for us. He wanted so much for us to love each other, and because of it, he died for us. He wanted a world free of war and hatred and every other ugly thing, and because of it, he died for us. But we scorned him. We took his love and made fun of it. We beat him, laughed at his way, took him out and nailed him to 2 pieces of wood. Then we stood around, drank our booze, gambled for his clothing, and mocked him as he bled to death. For nearly 2,000 years now, he's been trying to get us to understand that this is his world, and that no way will work in his world but his way. But we humans know more than he does, so we go on killing, robbing, cheating, and lying, making fun of him and his way. It isn't popular to be a follower of his. You'll still be made fun of, scorned, and laughed at. You can't get ahead in life by practicing his principles, so we're told, and we must all get ahead. We take followers of his and make them liars and cheats in our movies. We show them as weak, insecure, unstable people. Most of the time we picture them as some sort of holier-than-thou hypocrite. We have twisted his way, perverted his teachings, misused his church, wasted away his material goods, and our world is still searching for that something that is missing. Man is still the only animal on the face of the earth that will kill for revenge, and we call him the only civilized animal. How great must be the hurt in his heart to see what he had planned for us and what we have done with that plan, to see what great things he has prepared for us, and then to see how we have scorned his way, to have love that would allow his own son to die for our sinfulness, and then to see that love refused. How patient he is. Why he did not sweep us away centuries ago is beyond our understanding. No, we can't understand it. No one can. But we can understand one thing, and that is that he loves us more than we can ever understand. We know he will accept us with all our ugliness and unworthiness. We know he'll give us life and love. We know his power is greater than death, and apart from him there's no life at all. It seems that after 2,000 years we humans would get around to trying his way. But, like he said, we're ignorant. And I guess that's one reason he died for us.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." Matthew 19:14.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
And welcome back to today's issues. It is December 4th, 2024. Ed Vitagliano, Tim Wildman, Wesley Wildman, and Fred Jackson. Folks, how you doing on that Christmas shopping? 3 weeks, no pressure. Don't want you to feel any pressure at all, but you only have 3 weeks. What's that?
Ours already bought and wrapped.
Are they? And I know you did a lot on that, didn't you, Tim? Are yours really?
You know, there is a Fifth Amendment. We have a Fifth Amendment in America.
Are you telling the truth? All about, because your wife Allison is that go-getter.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, and also too, she still raps.
Yeah.
Think about that, because you acting like that's a surprise to me, because I go get bags. I just put everything.
Kind of what we do.
I don't care how big. If I have to tear apart a bag and tape 3 together, just to get a big bag. We're not wrapping anything. It's all bag.
Wrapping. Listen. We do the same thing with bags. Now we do wrap big presents.
Okay.
And all I do is I hand my wife the tape. Okay, another piece of tape. She does the wrapping. But I was never good at wrapping, and wrapping is the biggest waste of time and money.
I was good
100%
at freestyle.
Freestyle. I could never get it right.
Freestyle wrapping.
Mine always looked like a 10-year-old did it.
Wesley did.
Yeah.
I'm talking. Anyway. All right.
Yo.
Now I get it. Freestyle
you get it,
rapping.
baby boomer?
Yes. Okay. That's not bad. I like freestyle rapping.
All right. We have got a lot to talk about. Continuing on here, but what we were saying that before the break. Okay, so President Trump, announced Pete Hegseth as his nominee for Secretary of Defense, which is a big-time cabinet-level position. I mean, that's a big job right there. And so Pete Hegseth, who's been on Fox News for 3 or 4 years, I guess, with his show, which a lot of people enjoy, and I do too when I get a chance to watch it. I think he does an excellent job. So, but there's some question about whether because of
there's a combination of things. I mean, it's also. I mean,
you mean the reason he may not get confirmed?
That's right. You've got two things. You've got a combination of these types of allegations and emails and things that are coming up. Now, again, as Fred pointed out, those are separate discussions about, how much of this disqualifies him from him doing his job.
Character questions.
Character questions. So you got character questions. It's kind of coming up as a distraction, like the Matt Gaetz situation. That's kind of how this is beginning to develop a little bit. But then on the other hand, something that we've all said from the very beginning, as much as we liked his position on of getting wokeness out of the military,
I like
day
everything
one.
he says about it.
Yes, we all like that. There was also a hesitation day one when we got the announcement about his
lack of experience.
Yep.
Yeah, he's in his 40s. Pete Hegseth,
for that position.
And he's not been a senior officer in the military. Does that matter or not? I don't know. So we've had.
I'm back and forth on that because there are parts of me that's like I don't want to just next in line go on and carry on, because you could also say it's not going well that way, So breaking it up a little bit, but there are also reasons for being able to have.
Yeah, and I will say this too. The founders of our country wanted the military to fall under the civilian authority, not a military authority. Now, Secretary of Defense is not the president, not the commander in chief, so technically that principle is not being violated. But still, there have been, and we've listed them, there have been many examples in the past of people that have served as Secretary of Defense who have not been career military.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, but we'll see what happens with him. President Trump had to withdraw Matt Gaetz because Matt Gaetz didn't have the votes in the Senate. And my guess is if Pete Hegseth.
That was for Attorney General.
Yes, for Attorney General. So with Pete here, I don't know him personally. I'm calling him Pete. But if he doesn't have the votes, Trump will find out soon enough, and he'll pull his nomination and put somebody else up, such as perhaps Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, who may or may not be interested in that job. But I kind of, DeSantis, the governor of Florida now, he's got 2 years left in his term. He's 6 years into a 2-term governorship, but he does have military experience.
Correct. Yeah, he worked JAG. I think he dealt with prisoners down at Guantanamo Bay, etc.
He was all in Iraq too.
Yeah.
Not in combat.
No, he's judicial.
Yeah.
Side of things.
So we'll see what happens there. If I hope Pete Hegseth makes it, but if he doesn't, Ron DeSantis would be a good choice.
Mm-hmm. He'd be a good choice for anything.
Yeah. He's
We're
got
talking about Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, DeSantis has a future in leadership in the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm.
Where that lands ultimately, I don't know. Of course, being the governor of Florida is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Too, but he challenged Trump, didn't win because
barely.
Well, no, he got his tail beat.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I meant that was before. You're right about that. There was a time there early on where it was a close race until Trump got prosecuted and they raided Mar-a-Lago.
Yes, the Democrats decided it'd be Trump and DeSantis were basically tied.
That's what I was talking.
Yes, you're right. In February of whatever year that was, after the election, and then
they raid Mar-a-Lago.
Everything's after the election because there's always another election, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, So, and then you're right. Then Trump started getting these court cases against him. Right. The Democrats thought that'll be a great idea. We'll take him down with court cases.
Which I thought was going to work.
Yeah, I know, but it didn't, and that's when Trump began to separate from DeSantis, if you remember.
That's right.
Because and
then it was
and one going away.
And then,
but what I'm saying is, despite the fact that DeSantis did lose to Trump, he still has a future, as young as he is, I think, in some role in a leadership position in the Republican Party, and who knows. He may serve in the Trump administration. I think, as you say, Wesley, I think he would be, Governor DeSantis would be a great addition in several capacities in the Trump administration. If, from what I understand, Trump and DeSantis have, they worked out their differences from the primary season, and I think I was reading DeSantis' lips the other day as he was walking away from Trump. He says, "If you ever need me, De Sanctimonious is at your service, sir." I thought that was, I was reading lips, so I don't know. I may have got it wrong. But,
yeah.
All right. So
you're a talented guy.
Huh?
Freelance rapper.
Freestyle rapper.
Freestyle rapper.
And lip reader.
Freelance writer.
Now that was a boomer thing.
That was. I think we got a guest.
All right, we have a guest. This topic we're about to cover is.
Yeah, we need a parental advisory.
That's what I'm going to say. When we talk about some subject, we have to tell people ahead of time. Young children don't need to be listening, and this is one of them, right?
Yes. So if you have little ones listening, you may want to turn the channel and then return in about 10 minutes. But we do want to introduce to the program Nick Stumbo, who's Executive Director of Pure Desire, because we're going to talk about some statistics that came across my desk from Pure Desire Ministries, I don't know, several weeks ago, talking about Christian use of pornography. You can believe this. So, Nick, first of all, welcome to today's issues.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on today.
Well, tell us a little bit about Pure Desire Ministries before we kind of dive into this topic. What is your ministry? Where you're located? What do you do? How long you've been in existence? That kind of thing.
Sure. We were founded by a pastor, Dr. Ted Roberts, who wrote the book Pure Desire in the late 1990s. And his heart was just to minister to the men and women in his church that were struggling with pornography and compulsive sexual behaviors. And that led to us becoming a nonprofit ministry in 2007. So we're officially 17 years old, but our mission is to really help the church become that safe place for men and women who are struggling with compulsive sexual behaviors, and for the spouses that are dealing with the betrayal and the broken trust that comes because of that. So we're primarily a small group curriculum is how we help the church. And then we also have a team of counselors that help people that really need that professional care to walk through the betrayal and addiction that comes with pornography use. So we're here for the church. We're biblically based, and we're really effective at helping people find lasting freedom.
Well, now, obviously, the Christian, anybody who's studied the Bible for any length of time knows that the Christian is called to purity. That includes sexual purity. But we also know that people fail at that. Christians do as well. Your ministry started in the early 90s. I guess the only place you could basically get pornography is if you went to a 7-Eleven or you ordered it online or you went to an adult bookstore. Now it is ubiquitous. I mean, anyone, literally, even our children and grandchildren can get access to the worst forms of this. So is pornography making inroads in the church in a greater way than when your ministry started?
Unfortunately, it absolutely is. We did some research with the Barna Group this past year and found out that 54% of all Christians, that includes men and women, would say that they struggle to some degree with pornography. So that's 75% of Christian men, 44% of Christian women. So it's not just a man's issue, it's a people problem. And I think we're seeing a tremendous shift in the church where in our inability to really find freedom from it, because as you said, it's everywhere, it's at our fingertips, and Christian men and women are still human beings with God-given brains that desire sexual pleasure, and that I think easily leads to making sinful, bad choices. And there's so little help available in the church. It's talked about so infrequently that I think we've come to this point of just accepting, well, we're going to struggle, it's going to happen, and that's reflected in the data that we're seeing that really does reflect about a 11% growth since a similar study was done in 2016.
Nick, this is Wesley here. So with the numbers that you just gave, that means there's a good chance someone listening has or currently or knows someone. So what's the first step? If they're listening now and they want to do something about it, what's the first step?
I think the first step is we've got to recognize we can't beat this alone. This isn't a problem that we just pray about and try harder, or even just confessing to one other person. While confessing is great, this problem really thrives in secrecy and isolation. And yet so many of us, and this is my story too, we think, okay, I just need to try harder to, have accountability software and not go there on my computer. I'll just fight this battle on my own. And yet we're still doing it in secrecy and isolation. And that's why we really encourage people to join a group. And we have 1,200 churches around the country with groups, and we're helping churches all the time start a group, because we've seen that when there's an intentional group process where people know you and know what you're going through and support you, and you're able to tell your whole story in a very honest, straightforward way, that really leads people into freedom.
Where do people go online to look at your the help you're talking about there, Nick?
Yes, you can find us at puredesire.org. That's puredesire.org, and we've got all kinds of free resources and downloads, including an ebook that's called 5 Steps to Freedom from Pornography, and you could grab that today and answer that question as well. Where do I start? What do I do? And that's the whole point of that ebook.
Amen. One last question, Nick, and then we'll let you go. Are you seeing an increase amongst Christians? And I know that one of the things that George Barna does so well is he tries to differentiate in his surveys between people who simply say they're Christian and people who actually are born again and hold a biblical worldview. So this is just kind of a broad-based question. Do you see a difference over the last, let's say, 10 years amongst Christians who don't think they have a problem, that there's no problem with pornography, that they're not hurting anybody, and this isn't something that's a spiritual issue? Is that view changing, or for the most part, are these Christians who know it's wrong but can't get free?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of both, but unfortunately, one of the questions we asked was, how comfortable are you with the amount of pornography you're using? And this was asked only of Christians, practicing Christians, that acknowledge they use pornography to some degree. And half of them, 49%, said that they are comfortable with how much pornography they use. And only 21% said they wish they didn't use pornography at all. And so that's where I was mentioning, I think we are seeing a broader acceptance even among practicing Christians. And in my opinion, that has a lot to do with a rationalization that says, I've tried to stop, I've tried to beat it, I'm only doing it once in a while, and so I'm just kind of deciding it's not that big of a deal. But to me, there's an opportunity here. There's a window where the church can shine the light of hope and truth and say, no, we can beat this. We can be above this, and we can do it together. And that's what we're here to help people do. And we hope this report, this new data, convicts people to say, we've got to do something about this.
So, Nick, Tim here, at what age does this temptation go away?
Well, I think a lot of listeners know the sad truth is that there is no age where this goes away.
No. You need to give me an age. I need 70, 80.
Huh? You know, I've
Do you have 80-year-old men
coming
to you? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
A gentleman joined he joined my group, and he was 81 years old, and he was still doing the same pattern of going to an adult bookstore that had happened when he was 20 years old in the military is when it had started. And that's just the truth of this behavior is if we don't address it, it follows us through life. And we've joked with guys coming in to say, that 80-year-old man, I'm sure glad you're facing this at 80 because this is really hard to face when you're 90.
I know.
So let's get a handle on it now and find freedom.
What I'm not trying to make light of
it's a good point you're making, though. That's a great question.
I'm not trying to make light of people who have pornography addiction problems, okay? I'm just saying.
No, I understand.
I'm just saying, listen, you don't have to be a porn addict to go to the grocery store and there's a half-naked woman
right
on in two magazines right in front of your face, and you didn't ask for that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or you go you go out to dinner, and there's women dressed like streetwalkers. Okay,
right.
You didn't ask for that either.
Exactly.
Okay? I'm just saying, and I know women have their own issues. You said 42% of women.
44%. Yes. Yeah.
Christian women.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then that's pretty stunning to me. I would think. But you know what? I was also thinking about this the other day. We were thinking about the sexualization of the pop culture.
Right.
Out there. I mean, Taylor Swift's out there. She's the #1 pop star in America. When she gets on stage, her dress is almost up to her.
It's above her knee.
It's above her knee. It's mid thigh. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Right.
I'm just saying the sexualization of our entertainers is everywhere.
Yeah.
And so to guard your heart and your mind and your eyes is a challenge.
It's not an easy task.
It's a challenge. But I would say this. I was thinking about this the other day. You know how we make fun of people who are Puritans or dressed real conservative or or become monks.
Yeah. I mean, I don't make fun of them, but you apparently do. Go ahead.
Well, what I'm saying is, I can see how people would in past years. Why you say women, you need to dress modestly.
Yes, absolutely.
It sounds
they were right, weren't they?
They were right.
They were right.
You're going like, oh, come on, man, you're too legalistic.
Yeah.
And I'm going, no.
Well,
no, women need to dress. Women and young ladies, girls, need to dress
modestly.
Modestly, and anyway, that's just what I want to say.
Nick wanted to say something.
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
Go ahead.
Say that may be a part of the conversation, but I think what we're seeing in today's world, and you guys mentioned this, it's everywhere. Every single one of us is one click away from stupid, and we have not been equipped to handle that level of temptation around us. And I think, unfortunately, we may still be in a mode that says, well, we need to put filters on our world and on our devices, and if we could just keep it away from us. But the truth is you can't so well filter the world around you to keep it away, because you mentioned it's everywhere. That filter needs to be on our heart. And that's so much of what we try to do in a group environment is help people see what's going on inside of me. Help me answer the why question of why do I keep doing this? Even though I know it's not good for me, it's not good for my faith, it's harming relationships. What's going on in this internal side of me? And as we start to identify some of those heart level issues and things that have been driving our behaviors maybe for decades, that's where real change comes, not just by changing the environment around us, but by changing the thought patterns and the beliefs that are going on inside of us.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
Our guest has been Nick Stumbo, who's executive director of Pure Desire Ministries. Folks, whether you're having struggles with pornography or not, or maybe you just know someone, puredesire.org. Puredesire.org is a place you need to check out. If you're just curious about this topic.
Asking for a friend.
Just asking for a friend.
We're all getting a help for a friend, yes.
Asking for a friend.
Right. Hey, Nick, not only thank you for being on with us today, but thank you for what Pure Desire Ministries is doing.
Yeah, the work they're doing.
Because that is just invaluable. We can't have Christians in bondage to this extent if we're wanting to turn this country around with the gospel.
Another thing we can't do is lessen the standard.
Right.
We can't
That's
lessen.
right.
We can't lessen the biblical standard, if that's the right way to say it, just because temptations are greater.
Yes.
Okay?
You're right.
Because the God spoke in the Bible, in the Old Testament and the New Testament, about living holy.
Yes.
And righteous, and so we have to strive for that each and every day. Right?
Yes, amen.
And we can't say, we can't make excuses. Well, just because this, that, or the other, therefore I'm excused from having that standard applied to me. So anyway.
Hey, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Jesus
Nick.
promised us freedom, and he still can be trusted. And I appreciate you having me on. I'd love to do it again.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, who's that?
Thanks, guys.
Who's that?
That's Nick Stumbo, Executive Director of Pure Desire Ministries. Folks, this is just a wonderful thing. If you want your church to maybe open the doors to people who are struggling, Nick said that they have curricula available.
I got to tell you something funny.
By the way, that was a funny question you asked.
What's that?
Really about tell me it goes away.
Oh.
So what was the age?
The
age?
At what age will this stop?
Right. So this is related. Okay, so I get these. I order on the internet, and so
why do I feel like I need to save you already?
Well, how do I say this? I don't want to get too much into it.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just say this.
What may be funny?
I get magazines sent to my house that I didn't order.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And this company thinks they're doing me a favor. This company orders something else for our thinks, well, we'll throw in some free magazines.
Yes.
For our customers who sign up or who order from us.
Right.
For this other product. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So they send me free magazines to my house with my name on them.
Right.
That I didn't order.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not pornographic magazines in the sense that, they're Playboy or something like that. But they are like these fashion magazines with half-naked girls on the front, or half-dressed androgynous people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's some weird, freaky picture. You know what I'm saying?
And you're a postal delivery person.
That's what I'm saying. Allison had to go tell him one time.
Yeah.
Had to go tell our postman, the postal delivery guy, who's a Christian. He knows who I am, and he's going, and I'm going like, you need to go tell him.
Right now.
I didn't order those magazines.
He called by at 11:42, and you need to be out there.
Yes, because I feel like, wouldn't you?
Explain yourself.
Wouldn't you feel like you need to go out there and tell him, I didn't order these magazines?
Now, I got to...
sure.
Oh, yeah, I hear that all the time.
Right.
I also want to say, I don't even know if I get magazines because my wife, she gets the mail.
Oh, and chunks them?
I guess.
Well, anyway, they only last like 3 months because I don't subscribe to them. They send them free. They're trying to get you to order their magazines.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're sending this to the wrong demographic, man. You're sending me Glamour and ELLE and...
Chelsea didn't have that problem. She has a problem with too many hunting magazines that come in.
Oh, hunting magazines? Well, no, we don't.
Well, what's weird is when you search on the internet, if you search for a health product, I think I looked up one time whether, like the vitamins you get, the supplements,
right?
Whether those actually work, whether they actually work. And after that, I started getting inundated with advertisements, not just for supplements, but for everything.
Oh, they knew.
Yes.
Mr. Google, he knew where you were going. Yeah. That's why he was sending you...
So it's true on the internet.
That's why they do those cookies. Everybody does is it called cookies?
Yeah, cookies.
Everybody's got the cookie. Every site you go to is like huge cookie alert.
Yeah.
And they say, do you care if we've tracked you?
Yes.
That's what they're asking you.
And we're going to sell your information?
And we're going to sell your information. All right, so there you go. All right, Fred, anything to add to all this?
No, I'm an old guy.
Okay. Okay, well. All right, well, listen, we'll be back in 5 minutes, everybody. Stay with us.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio. The Stand provides a Christian perspective on current issues that are important to your family. Produced by the American Family Association, this monthly magazine is full of articles and stories about people who are making a difference in their community and around the world. Sign up today and receive a free 6-month subscription. Visit thestand.net or call 1-800-326-4543. This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. New York City police are investigating the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, who was fatally shot this morning. Alexis McAdams reporting from Manhattan.
I'm told by police sources that the United Healthcare CEO was walking out this morning around 6:45, heading to a very important annual meeting here for the healthcare company when somebody was waiting for him, according to sources outside across the street, and shot him not once, but twice, once in the chest and once in his leg. This is all still developing here on the ground. The NYPD has a lot on their hands, like they always do, but especially right now during the Christmas season. So they're trying to figure out exactly what played out here. Right now, we don't have that information on that suspect specifically or who they're looking for, but I'm told that he had a mask on and gloves.
Some of President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet nominees face difficult confirmation hearings in the Senate. The incoming Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, reaffirms his commitment to making sure the cabinet nominees receive a fair confirmation process.
What's important is they are ensured that they're going to get a fair process. These are the president's nominees, the people he wants in these key positions, and it's our job under advice and consent in the Constitution to ensure that they have a fair process up here, get a chance to make their case, and for senators to determine whether or not they're qualified for the jobs that they're seeking.
Federal cybersecurity officials say hackers based in China are still infiltrating U.S. telecommunications networks.
The U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency warns that a digital threat actor based in the People's Republic of China is still compromising domestic and global telecom networks. The report from CISA, which is co-authored with agencies from Canada and New Zealand, points to a China Communist Party-linked hacker group known as Salt Typhoon. They won't specify how many networks are affected or to what extent, but a Wall Street Journal report from October detailed how the hackers accessed a wiretapping system within major phone companies that is usually used by law enforcement. Eben Brown, Fox News.
A Denver radio host thinks a new regulation in Colorado shows the state has its priorities out of order. Chris Woodward has more.
Beginning this January, all eggs sold in Colorado must be cage-free eggs. The move has been in the works ever since the governor signed a bill into law in 2020. Denver radio host Jeff Hunt calls it classic Colorado, where the progressives care deeply about the wrong things.
They've banned plastic bags, they've banned plastic straws, and yet you can pretty much do any drug you want in the state of Colorado. We've welcomed 40,000 illegal immigrants. It's all these things.
Hunt adds this is going to drive up the cost of eggs.
Because when you get to cage-free eggs, you don't have nearly the same amount of chickens in the same vicinity that you would if you were typically processing eggs that were more affordable. So this is another government regulation that's going to drive up costs on all Colorado consumers.
For the Hunt family, the impact will not be felt. He says they raise their own chickens, but other people don't have that luxury.
And so Colorado is just going to continue to get more and more expensive on things it shouldn't need to have to get expensive about.
I'm Chris Woodward.
The latest reading on the labor market has been released. Lillian Wu has the details.
Payroll processor ADP reporting that U.S. businesses created a solid 146,000 new jobs in November, though that is below expectations. Economists polled by the Wall Street Journal had forecast a gain of 163,000 new jobs. The latest numbers assign the jobs market has stabilized after a big cool down over the summer. The number of new private sector jobs created in October was revised down to 184,000 from 233,000. We get the government's official jobs estimate at the end of the week. According to a Wall Street Journal poll, economists expect the November jobs report to show a rebound in new jobs. Lillian Wu, Fox News.
U.S. stock indexes are rising toward more records today after tech companies talked up how much artificial intelligence is boosting the results. More news online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app for your Apple or Android device. I'm Rusty Pugh.
As our nation faces a host of unprecedented challenges, it's important that we use the Lord's provisions to support conservative judicial nominees, advance biblical principles, and help faithful Americans contend for truth in the public arena. AFA Action is working at the federal, state, and even school board levels to promote critical policies to protect your family. But in order to accomplish our mission, we need help from faithful partners like you to reach our year-end budget goal. So please visit afaaction.net to give today. afaaction.net.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, president of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. I'm Tim with Ed and Wesley, and now Steve Paisley Jordan joins us. Good morning, Brother Steve.
Morning, everybody.
So let me mention this real quick, and then we'll move on to the news of the day. All right, so we were supposed to go, by we I mean our group here, our annual pilgrimage to the Holy Land. We were supposed to go in February. Supposed to go in March, right?
Of last year?
Yeah, of this year.
Of this year, okay.
But it got canceled because of the war in Gaza. That's pretty well over now, and I think the worst is over, and things are only calming down. They're going to settle down, and it's back to there are tour groups in Israel right now. Tour groups don't go near fighting.
Right.
Okay. So we're going in February. We're taking the group that was intended to go in March. We're taking them in February.
Okay.
Got me? Follow me?
25.
Yeah. Like in 2 months from now, whenever that. So we have 4 seats that are available. So I only mention this, only 4, and it's first come, first serve. You got me?
I got you.
So the dates are February 18th through the 26th. If you want to go to Israel with our group in February, as in 2 months from now, I'm telling you we have 4 seats left, and when they're gone, they may be gone today or tomorrow. It's first come, first serve. Then our tour will be officially, quote, sold out. You got me?
Got you. Where do they go if they
Okay, I got so send an email. I'm going to give you the email.
Okay.
Okay. The email, I tell you what, just go to wildmangroup.com. Isn't that it, Wesley?
That's it.
WILDMON group.com. Go there and you'll see the email address. wildmangroup.com. Click on that and say,
but they
you don't have to commit, but if you're interested in one of these 4 seats, you need to say.
Need to get your name on the list.
That's right. What are you going to say, Wesley?
I was going to say, you can correct me here if I'm wrong, but
I will. Because I have for a long. How old are you, son?
Son.
How old are you, boy?
35 boy, a 35-year-old boy.
Okay.
I don't think you can register there because.
No, because
this is the tour. This is the trip that we were supposed to take.
Yeah, you'll have to register by calling in.
Right.
But if you want to inquire and say, I'm interested in the seats, how much do they cost, yada, 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 go to the website, wildmangroup.com. Yep. The email is there. Instead of me giving the email out, the email is there, and you can email us and say, I'm interested in one of those spots. Or 2 of those 4 seats. Go, Steve.
Hey, good morning, everybody. So we got some breaking news right now. I know you guys led the show with the shooting in New York City. This United Healthcare executive, 50 years old, Brian
Thompson.
It looks for everything. They got video of the shooter now. They've released a picture of the shooter right in the act of shooting. There are video cameras everywhere in New York City, and they knew this. The guy shot. He was apparently waiting for this executive to come out of the hotel. They had an investor group meeting going on in the hotel at the time. He walked out, and as soon as this executive, Brian, walked out, the gunman raised his gun and shot and then fled on a bicycle. So, and they don't have any motive yet. They haven't said anything about that. They're still looking for this guy, but they have released a picture. And there's reports that the CEO, Andrew Whitty, halted the investor conference at that hotel shortly after 9 a.m., telling the crowd we're dealing with a very serious medical situation. So that's the latest on there. They're still looking for this guy, but they've got cameras. And
I will say this, that as much as I don't like having a lot of cameras around, I don't like the idea of a surveillance state. At the same time, I will say it's going to be very difficult for this guy to get away because the sheer number of cameras.
Right.
Now they got a picture of what now you can't see his face. He's completely covered. Hood, gloves, it looks like. But the person dressed like that is going to be tracked on cameras everywhere he goes. If he gets in a car, they're going to have his tag number. If he goes to another hotel, if he goes to the train station. So there is an upside to all these cameras when you're talking about crime.
Yep, indeed there is.
That guy, I'm looking at a picture of that guy, the guy who is the alleged killer this morning of the United Healthcare CEO. He looks neat.
Yes.
Okay. He's got his pants, his shoes, everything. He's got
a nice backpack. It looks
nice
like.
Backpack on. I mean, he looks like that was planned.
Yes.
Doesn't he?
Yes.
He's planned. He's waiting on the guy to come out of the hotel. He knows who he is. You call that a hit job. It's either a hit job like in the mob style movies, or it's somebody has a vendetta or is very angry at United Healthcare for stiffing them or something. That kind of motivation, you know. So anyway, what's your next story?
We haven't talked a whole lot, at least in my segment on this show, about the Daniel Penny case, have we?
No, not a whole lot. Not since it's happened.
Well, Daniel Penny is a former Marine who was on the subway, and there was a gentleman, a guy that was having some mental distress, and he was threatening people.
We found out later he also had a history of this, too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He had a history of this. So Daniel Penny stepped in and got this guy who was threatening to kill people on the subway in a chokehold. Right. And there is debate right now of whether that chokehold or something else ended up taking his life, this suspect. The trial is ongoing, and it has gone to the jury. And the prosecutor in the case is a woke woman by the name of Defana Yoran, who continually referred to Daniel Penny in this case as the white guy, because, of course, one of the reasons it's getting a lot of press is because Daniel Penny is white, and the gentleman that he killed, I'm looking for his name right now, is black. Neely. So the guy's name was Neely, Neely. And so this Neely had a history. He's been in and out of the mental facilities in New York City for a while. Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, was on the Rob Astoriano show on on Saturday, actually. And he made a statement. This is before it went to the jury. The jury's still out. But I want you to hear what Mayor Adams has to say about this case. Cut 13.
The young man in this case was going within our system, throughout the revolving door of our system. Now, we're on the subway where we're hearing someone talking about hurting people, killing people. You have someone on that subway who was responding, doing what we should have done as a city and a state of having a mental health facility. Those passengers were afraid. I'm hoping that the jury will hear all the facts. Based on all the facts that's laid out, a jury of his peers would make the right decision. And I don't want to prejudge that. I'm just looking at all the facts that are involved here and what we did to get to where we are and what we're seeing. Because that could have easily been a case where you saw 3 innocent people murdered on our street.
Who's we?
The city of New York.
I guess he's speaking for the city of New York.
Yep.
Okay. So is he saying Daniel Penny he's for him or against him?
He's for him.
He's for him. He's saying that anyone else should have done the same. If it wasn't him, it should have been someone else. Somebody should have stopped him. It just so happened to be him.
It should have been the city of New York.
Oh, yeah, that's
he
right.
was in and out of their mental health facilities. They gave him drugs. They sent him back out on the street instead of dealing with him.
The underlying reasons was mental illness.
Adams was also very critical of the media in this case, referring to the pictures that were first published of Mr. Neely that show him as
like a teenager.
Clean,
oh, yeah,
upstanding.
They always show that one.
Yeah, it was just like the guy was, anybody's son. You're proud of this guy, and he was mercilessly killed by some racist white guy is the narrative that Eric Adams had a problem with. So that's not
Good
the guy.
For him.
Yeah.
Now, isn't it also true that I don't know if you already said this about Daphne Uran, the assistant Manhattan district attorney, and the fact that once sought reduced punishment?
Yeah, no, I hadn't mentioned that yet. But this is on her bio. She got on her website.
Who is she again?
She's the prosecutor in the Daniel
She's
Penny
the
case.
assistant district attorney.
Gotcha.
And on the website of the district attorneys of New York City, the website, her bio, it says her track record would make any guilty defendant tremble. She's committed to holding killers accountable and is fueled by a sense of responsibility as the daughter of a Holocaust survivor. And it was she took down a white guy. It was the first time a white supremacist was prosecuted for domestic terror in the United States. She did that. But then on down it says that she felt she prosecuted Matthew Lee for inadvertently killing an elderly professor while robbing him at an ATM. And she said in that case, in corroboration with the victim's family, she said she didn't think a long prison sentence was appropriate.
So this was in the commission of a crime.
Yes.
Robbing an elderly person at an ATM.
Right.
And the person dies.
Yes.
In the commission of a crime. It does not deserve a harsh sentence, but Daniel Penny, trying to protect people from a crime,
right?
When somebody dies,
but he's the white guy.
He's the white guy.
You got to stick it to the white guy.
And now Daphne Uran,
that's all that is.
Is she's white herself.
I know, but she's heart white liberals. Yeah. They're the worst.
That's right.
Absolute worst.
Young white liberals are the worst.
They're worst. Yeah. You need an island for them.
I just wanted to make a point here. The obvious, they're really having to stretch this to make this anything racial. When the hard reality is that if Penny was racist, why would he wait for a black person to do this before he did any?
No,
it's obvious.
From the testimony I heard, Daniel Penny, the Marine, I don't think he's active. I think he's
ex-Marine.
A former.
There are no former Marines, but he's not serving.
In the past, in his life, he was a Marine at one time. How about that?
Yes.
Okay? Everybody's so sensitive about that. So he this fella who was mentally ill or not, or just a mean, stupid guy, was threatening other people on this subway.
Mm-hmm.
Not Daniel Penny necessarily. Maybe he was one of them. So Daniel Penny said, I got to get involved here to stop this guy, or he's going to physically
hurt
somebody. He didn't set out to kill the guy.
Right.
The guy died.
He got him in a chokehold to try. Yeah.
He subdued him until officers got there.
Yeah, and then he died subsequent to that.
Right. And he never stopped. He didn't stop when he was trying to when Daniel Penny was trying to stop him from doing bad things. He didn't say, "Okay, I'm done. I'll stop now."
He didn't tap out.
He kept on going.
And there were minorities on the train.
Yes, he was. Daniel Penny, the white Marine, was protecting black people.
Yes,
and other people of color from a guy who just happened to be black, who was also nutso.
Right.
If I basically got it.
Yeah, you got it.
Every single person that was on that train praised Daniel Penny and thanked him for his.
This shouldn't even be a case. The only reason this is in court right now is because he's a white guy. Otherwise, he's he's not charged.
Well, there was a firearm involved. There was a knife. Never mind. There were no weapons involved.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
the motivation.
My point is, up until this point, it's a constant battle of Second Amendments. A shooting that takes place. They want to get rid of your Second Amendment, or if a knife, if there's a stabbing or whatever. But in this case, there was no weapons involved.
Yeah, you talk about didn't ask for something. Daniel Penny, he's just going into New York on a subway, minding his own business. Yeah. And he's put in a position where he has to intervene to keep a guy from harming others on the subway.
Yeah.
And he may be the only one capable.
And this is how long it's been going on?
Like 2 years.
Yeah, it's been a while. I don't see if I
have
I've got it right here.
So for all the good Samaritans out there, they're watching this and going
2020.
That's why you don't get involved.
That's why I'm never getting involved, and that's why crime.
That's why in New York City people walk over people who are who have just been beat up or mugged because they don't want to get involved. And
can't blame
charged.
Yeah,
you might get charged.
You might get,
you remember some of the listen. Yes, I agree with you, Tim. The only reason that this was a case is because Daniel Penny was white, and the victim
and a Marine. The left hates the military too,
and the victim was black.
Yes.
Okay, but let me toss in an additional reason why this happened, because Daphne Uran, the assistant Manhattan district attorney, is a white liberal. And it seems like the people in the district attorney's office, remember several years ago, there was the owner of that little shop that was defending himself.
A bodega.
A bodega.
Oh, yeah.
And he had a knife to defend himself, and the criminal who was going to rob him and shoot him or whatever, he died. They were going to charge the bodega owner until it hit the news. But he wasn't white, so I guess they couldn't go forward.
They didn't. And by the way, it's kind of a corollary to this. You talk about people not wanting to step in to help people because of this. There's such a thing called the Ferguson effect that affects police officers for the same reason.
Yeah,
several police officers have been taken to trial in justified shootings, and they've been honored or exonerated in this. Not all of them. There's the case of those that have been sent to prison for actual crimes they committed against a suspect. But that the willingness and the rate of prosecutions of these police officers has other police officers saying, you know what, I'm going to close my eyes and drive past this,
right?
Because
I
don't want to be
done.
Yeah, I don't want to be the next guy to be on trial for something that.
So what's going to happen here? What's the next step?
Well, the jury's out. The jury could come back any minute, any day.
I'm gonna predict they're going to come back and exonerate him.
I think
so too.
I agree.
And I'll tell you, I think the reason for that, at least one of the reasons, would be the fact that everyone else on the train,
yep, that's right,
minorities included, said no. We're glad he was there.
Right,
he saved us.
Well, and there was, if I remember the video correctly, there were a handful of people helping him. Now they weren't choke holding him, but they were helping
restrain
him too. So he's not the only one that was trying to stop
Eyewitnesses that I saw, and this would include people of all color, well, at least black and white folks, and maybe some other colors there too. But they were saying this guy who Daniel Penny was holding down was verbally threatening
to kill people.
To kill people on that,
Yeah.
And they were scared.
Yes.
And he stepped in for them. Go ahead, next story.
All right. I know you talked earlier about the nomination of Pete Hegseth being in trouble.
Potentially.
Potentially.
Yeah.
There is another one of Donald Trump's picks for the cabinet that has dropped out of the race.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy named Sheriff Chad Chronister, who is the sheriff in Hillsborough County, Florida. And he has withdrawn from consideration to be the head of the Drug Enforcement Agency. Now, a lot of conservatives are cheering this decision to not run or to get rid of this guy because he was, among other things, he arrested a pastor who kept his church open during the COVID pandemic. He has a lot of liberal bona fides, but this is what he said when he arrested the pastor, whose name was Ronald Howard Brown. He says, announcing the arrest of Dr. Ronald Howard Brown, pastor of the River at Tampa Bay Church, who who intentionally and repeatedly disregarded state and local public health orders, which put his congregation and our community in danger. And so a lot of people are saying there should be somebody else to lead the DEA.
I don't have to hear much more if he arrested the pastor.
Right.
Yeah, I remember when that happened. I think the pastor and the sheriff are friends now. Well, he withdrew his name. Trump nominated him, and now he's withdrawn his name for that position. So I guess somebody else will.
I'll be honest, I was kind of surprised.
You want that job?
No.
It's a DEA. You don't want to enforce drugs and.
I do, but I have no experience. I don't even want to wrap Christmas presents.
All right. Well, we got a DEA. The job
spot's open.
The job's open for the applicants. Need to call President Trump and let him know you're interested. So
I'm not. You trying to get rid of me?
I'm sorry. What were you going to say? No, we need.
No, I was just going to say I am a little surprised that he dropped out. Not necessarily having to do with his qualifications. I had heard about the thing with the pastor. I didn't know that maybe they were friends now, but it's so quick. I mean, he got the nomination. He said
went to lunch, came back. And
yeah, that's what it's kind of like.
Well, been a handful of those.
Okay.
He says over the past several days, as the gravity of this very important responsibility set in, I've concluded that I must respectfully withdraw from.
Why did you say yes in the first place?
That's what I'm thinking.
You didn't realize the gravity when you said yes?
Yes.
I think that's
that's his cover.
That's not true.
Yeah.
That's what you say when Trump took the job away from you.
I was surprised this happened so quickly.
Okay, I'm not specifically criticizing President Trump for this because it happens with every single administration where these presidents name somebody and then 2 days later,
based on feedback
we start hearing they did this, that, or the other, and you're going like, and they're going to have to withdraw their name, and you're going like,
you not think about that beforehand?
Did you not do your background check on this guy? Huh?
Yes.
If his mom's writing emails, and you don't.
Now, I'll give the Trump team a pass on that one.
Okay,
because
yeah.
I don't know how in the world the New York Times got his mother's emails.
But like this DEA, the sheriff in Florida.
That's right.
His name was only mentioned 2 days ago. Well, it's either he's bipolar, okay, because I don't mean that
allegedly.
I don't mean that in a clinical sense. I mean that in a way that he vacillates too much.
Yes.
Which that usually isn't the personality profile of a sheriff.
Right. Right.
Or what appears to have happened here with this sheriff, his name is Chad, and down around
Chad Chronister.
Down around, and he may be great at prosecuting drug dealers.
Yeah.
Well, he can't prosecute, but arresting them and busting them up, he may be great at that. Which why when Trump named him, I'm going like, well, yeah, he did make that mistake at COVID early on, but is he good at what Trump's hired him to do here?
Right.
That is the DEA. But then when you withdraw your name 2 days later, I'm going like, and then you say, after I consider the gravity of the job, and I don't believe that. I believe that Trump said, I didn't know about you arresting the pastor.
Right.
So I'm going to withhold.
That just seems like a Google search.
I know. That's why you're going like, somebody dropped the ball there.
Yeah.
Somebody dropped the ball?
No.
Or do you think he changed his mind because his wife said, you're not doing this?
No, I think
I don't want to go to Washington.
Yeah.
I think in some cases Trump knows about. I think in all these cases Trump knows about these things. But I think I think once he gets a response from people, there was enough conservatives that had a issue with this, and they let it be known on social media, and I think it's a response to that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, listen, that happens in life. It happens in all jobs, all companies, whatever. Sometimes people are offered jobs and 2 days later their job offers rescinded.
Yep.
Or the person decides, hey, I really don't want that after all.
Or the person accepts the job and then goes home and tells his wife. And his wife says, oh, no, we're
you're
not.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that course of taking a new job of any kind.
Right, you're right.
Hey, tomorrow, if we got time, the college football playoff brackets are out. We can talk about that.
We'll talk about that. Ed's Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Yes, sir.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. See you tomorrow.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. This time of year is decision time.